Welcome to UK Business Show. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions, helping business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, UK Kachidori.
Again, thank you guys for joining us on the UK Business Show. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you a business owner and you struggle with cash flow? Or you just want to know about cash flow management? Well, today on the show, I have a very special guest, somebody who's been doing this for close to 4 decades now, helping business owners and people who want to manage their finances better, and somebody who has a track record. The gentleman with me here is Fred Parrish, who is the founder and the chief executive officer of the Profits Experts. Now, welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So good to have you here with us. Now, a bit about you is you've done this for the last 38 years, and you've held positions from staff accounting to CEO in both public and private companies, ranging from startups to revenue of over $3.5 billion. That's such a huge amount of money, and we are very privileged to have you here on the show today to help our listeners on how they can manage their cash flow, especially business owners, if you're getting started. Now, Fred, for those who haven't come across your work or know about you, would you share with our audience a bit about yourself, primarily your background?
Oh, sure. My specific business background, I have my education is in accounting and finance, and I have spent about half of my career in roles associated with that. But the other half I've spent in operations. And I think that brings a different perspective to the whole conversation about management and cash flow and how all of that comes together effectively.
Incredible. And during this time, you have obtained a very special eye to how to manage finances, which is a unique position from anyone who's coming into business.
Yeah, in my experience, and I've worked with hundreds of companies, as you mentioned, of all sizes and in about 60 different industries. And what I've found is that there are some very interesting dynamics at work in any particular company, and they seem to be mutually exclusive. On one hand, every company has to manage certain aspects of that operation well, or they just will not survive. But then at the exact same time, you could have 5 companies in the exact same business, let's say manufacturing dog food, for example. Right. And every single one of those companies are different because they have different people, they have different process, they have different equipment, different layout. So you have to be able to have a standardized approach with the ability to accommodate all those truly infinite variabilities from one operation to another in order to be effective in managing specifically the cash flow component, because there are a lot of drivers that go into that piece.
Incredible. We'll come back to that in a moment, but you wrote in one of your books, The Profit Mentality, something very important. In fact, I'll let you talk about it more when it comes to that point. But in your book, The Profit Mentality, what is the main subject that you're trying to convey to the readers?
Well, the overriding premise of the book is that a company owner, CEO, manager cannot control profit from their chair or from their boardroom.
Right.
If they are a company of more than one person, more than just themselves, they have to be putting systems and communication capability within the organization so that they can push out and disseminate information across the entire organization. Every person in that company needs to understand how their actions, or in some cases inaction, will impact the company's overall profitability and then therefore cash flow. So they have to understand where they fit and how what they do impact the people and systems upstream from where they are and downstream from where they are. And so how to go about doing that, again, in a structured, consistent, and objective way is, again, the purpose of the message in the Profit Mentality.
Incredible. And where can people find this book?
Well, unfortunately, that book is not in print any longer. If they are interested in getting a copy, they can certainly contact me directly. We have a new book that is coming out this month, in fact. It should be out in the next couple of weeks. And that is a book that I've co-authored with Michael E. Gerber of the E-Myth fame. Michael has written close to 25 books now. And his original book back in the late 80s was the E-Myth. And so what we do in that book, if you don't mind, is show business owners what the role of a CFO really is. What do chief financial officers look like? What kind of background do they need to have? What capabilities do they need to bring to the company? And how do they manage not only the financial aspects of the company, right, but as a chief financial officer in today's world, you have to be very strategic and you have to be a partner with that CEO in order to assist and in some cases even advise about strategic decisions and how to quantify what those outcomes look like months or years into the future. So that's what the E-Myth Chief Financial Officer addresses. If the company is large enough to have a true Chief Financial Officer on staff, then that's a great thing. And this is what it should look like. But in most cases, small businesses are not large enough to have a true CFO. And so by default, the owner manager is that CFO. And so now they need to understand very clearly what that means and what they need to do internally in order to accomplish those same outcomes as a much larger company.
Awesome. And the book will be out in a few weeks' time.
It will, yes.
Incredible. And if you're just joining us, I'm talking with an expert, Fred Parrish, who's been in the business for so many years, helping business owners ranging from small startups to even bigger companies worth $3.5 billion. And we're talking about cash flow today. Let's dive straight into the critical skills that business owners need to have, Fred, for them to manage their cash flow better or in a successful way. My first question on that subject is, what is really the first skill a business owner needs to develop, so to speak, to be in a position to manage their cash flow?
Well, to be honest with you, the first skill is discipline.
Right.
The idea that we can have the most elaborate and most far-reaching systems in place to do anything for that matter, but certainly cash flow management. If you don't have the discipline to be in that system and managing that system on a regular basis, then it is just as if you didn't have it to start with.
Right.
If you are disciplined about it, you can manage your cash flow literally on a piece of paper if you're small enough to get away with that. But it is about putting the right system in place for the company where you are today, but then following that system on a regular, consistent basis. And as necessary, getting other people in the organization involved either to provide information for that process or to participate in that process and provide more than information, provide insight and knowledge about the company or the market or the product or whatever it is that they bring to that conversation.
Incredible. When we talk of discipline, Fred, here, is it in terms of just a personal trait or there is more to it from a company's perspective?
No, there's more to it than that, and you're right. It certainly, you have to have that personality trait, or at least develop that ability to be disciplined and to be focused and to continue through a process on a regular cycle. But you also have to be able to pull in the other resources. It may be your internal accountant. It might be your outside accountant. Here in the U.S., we call those CPAs. But you need also those operational people in the business. If the company is of a reasonable size, and you have operations people and marketing people and admin people, you need to get input from all of those, because every function in the company is driving revenue or I guess, expense. And so it's like pressing on balloons. If you take a balloon and you press in one place, it's going to pop up somewhere else, right? There's no way to press on a balloon without it having an impact on the rest of the surface of that balloon. A company's the exact same way. Right. Something happens in one part of the company, it has an impact across the entire company. It may be direct, but it may be indirect, but it will have an effect. And every effect has a financial outcome. Again, whether it's a minor or major, it is going to have an impact on your financials. And it's the cumulative effect of all the decisions that are being made moment by moment, day by day, by all of the people in the company. Right. That are really going to affect whether the company succeeds or not, and to what degree.
Incredible. Well, in your experience, Fred, are there any tools other than pulling together from different operations and different department? Are there any tools that people can really tap into that you've used yourself, or many of your colleagues use, or even the people you work with?
Sure. Excel is a tremendously powerful tool. It gets to be a little bit difficult to manage if you have too many spreadsheets that do different things, and how you integrate all of that, and how you validate data flow and make sure that the information you have coming in is actually going to give you the information that you need, and that the information you get is accurate. There are other software applications on the market that can help in that regard. It really depends on the size of the company, to be honest with you, because one idea that I mentioned in the profit mentality is that you can build the biggest and greatest system in the world, but if you don't have the resources to support it and manage it, again, it just is not worth the effort. So if you build a monster, you have to feed it. And so the idea is to put the system in place that is most appropriate for the size and scope of the company where you are today. Now, in that plan, you need to be looking at what other capabilities need to be incorporated at different points in time, right, given any assumed growth rate, because obviously you grow in revenue, you have to grow in the infrastructure to support it.
Right.
So the systems are different, obviously, at different sizes, and I think the tools are different as companies grow.
Thank you, Fred, for such an elaborate explanation to these first critical skills that business owner needs to develop. Now, assuming that this is covered now, is there a second skill that me as a business owner needs to develop or really master so that I can have my cash flow in a better position and really enjoy the profitability of my business?
Right. I think, again, it's the ability to pull together the relevant information.
Right.
There's all kinds of information, as you all know, and companies can produce all kinds of reports and let's just call it data. But we need to find the relevant data that will produce information about the drivers in the company. And
Right.
so that owner, manager, CEO, depending on the size of the company, they are in a unique position to understand better than anyone else, or at least they should be, to understand the broad mission and how each component is a part of and supports that mission.
Right.
And so bringing together the information is going to be done by creating reporting across all of those different functions that provide that relevant data. And so data is not always good data. We need to find that information that will give us what we need in order to quantify our strategic plan. And so in my mind, in how I try to go about working with companies, is creating reports that do two things. One, again, it gives us the good, relevant information about the drivers in the business and how, when we make decisions and take action that influence those drivers, it has a positive effect on the outcomes. But the reporting itself, in my experience and certainly in my opinion, should be more useful, frankly, to the person producing the report than the person receiving the report. And what I mean by that is, certainly the information coming out of the report is important, but the way that report is constructed can be designed such that the person developing the report is forced to understand on a different level the dynamics associated with those functions they are managing to pull that information from. So they get better about understanding the specific operational components in the business. And so as they report, they are getting smarter and better about their role, and that makes the information smarter and better for the people receiving it, and then how you use it in your planning.
Incredible. Talking of that, what is the best or the perfect mindset, one should have when it comes to developing these skills?
Well, I think it has to be the idea that cash is the one critical component of any company. Right. You just cannot operate long-term without cash. It's impossible. You can have profits in balance sheet, income statement, all your financials look great. But if you're not able to convert those actions into cash flow, the company will not survive. So you have to have cash to create profits, but you also have to have profits to create cash. And it's that endless cycle of generating revenue and converting to cash that has to be focused on intently. And I think the other aspect of that is realizing, again, going back to a comment earlier, that everyone in the company has to understand how their actions affect the revenue generation, and then again the conversion of that revenue to cash. Right. And how they go about performing their jobs are key elements to that, because again, going back to another comment, the cumulative effect of all of those actions over extended periods of time will determine whether the company will survive or not.
That's right. Absolutely right. Thank you so much, Fred. This is very useful information. And if you're just joining us, I'm here with Fred Parrish, an expert when it comes to financial planning and specifically cash flow management. And today we are learning more about cash flow management and how you can develop those skills and what skills you as a business owner need to develop in this area for you to create a long-term business that produces income. Now, back to you, Fred. Are there any other major skills at this point you feel business owners needs to develop other than the ones we've already talked about?
Any skills that they can develop certainly would be helpful, but most people are good at a handful of things and not terribly competent at a whole lot of others. And that's why we need other people to help us. So I would say that you can hire or train, you can contract for certain skills or capabilities that you may not have personally. Really what it comes down to, at least in smaller companies, is the idea that going back to the whole discipline conversation, that is the most important element of this process. And that is just to get in every single day and manage the company to the plan, understand what the plan is, understand what the plan says, compare actual operations to the plan, then find where the variations are and understand why those variations exist. There are two reasons that a variation to a particular financial plan would exist. Either we did not manage the company in a particular way such that we were able to achieve those particular outcomes, or something has changed either in the market or the company that is going to continue into the future and is not the result of inaction or some mismanagement. It is a change to the overall dynamics associated with the company. And so our response to those variations would be different. If it's something that we have not managed the way we thought we either could or should, then those are things that we can focus on and manage differently to try to bring them back in line with the financial plan. But if it is something that has changed, that has an external influence, then we need to change the plan in order to accommodate that new reality so that we always know what our future looks like based on our best information today. So having the discipline to stay in that process and stay mentally focused on the entire organization, pulling that information together and going through that cycle, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever that cycle is. And frankly, it should be weekly, monthly, quarterly for different reasons. Weekly, we should be looking at what I would call a flash report, maybe 4 or 5 metrics that we want to be monitoring either on a daily or weekly basis. It may be production levels. It may be new clients or customers. It may be sales dollars, whatever that is, cash receipts, AR, whatever those items are. But we want to watch what those are doing so that we will know long-term what effect it will have on our cash flow. The monthly should be a comparison to the operational realities. How did we actually do compared to how we thought we should? And then the quarterly is a higher level review of the plan and looking at it more from a strategic perspective, and then certainly the annual strategic plan development. So there is a multi-layered process here that should be implemented as necessary and as possible. You should start with that shorter term monthly cycle. If you're not doing this right now, just, if nothing else, sit down with if you're okay with a spreadsheet, open up Excel and start building a spreadsheet. If you're not, get out a pad of paper. Look at what your forecasted revenue is going to be, and more importantly, when you expect to collect that. And then look at what your expenses are and when you expect to have to disperse cash. And do that on a weekly basis, not monthly. You want to see, a lot of times people have plenty of cash at the beginning and the end of the month, but they're broke in the middle because of timing. You want to know if you're broke in the middle so you can manage through that.
Indeed. Again, Fred, it's so helpful. I want to turn to you as an entrepreneur, Fred. Being in business for 40 years, truly you've learned something that a lot of startups haven't quite grasped. I just want to talk to you. How do you keep moving forward in face of all difficulties that all business owners get through? What keeps you going?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Yukai, because there are always those times where you just look at the world and you ask yourself a lot of very difficult questions. And I don't think that anyone is immune to that. One thing that has helped me is that over the years, I have more often than I really care to think about, had to help companies get through an extraordinarily severe cash flow problem. And I'm not talking about situations where, your vendors are a little unhappy because you haven't paid them on their terms, and your employees really haven't had raises in a little while, and they're not a little unhappy about that. I'm talking about severe, where people are calling you on the phone and threatening you, accusing you of their spouse dying of a heart attack because you didn't pay their bill, and you've got people passing out in the hallway from the stress. And I'm not over exaggerating that. Those things have happened to me in different situations, helping companies through these problems. You learn a level of self-management in those situations where you realize that if an old Marine friend of mine used to tell me, he said, "Fred, if no one is losing limbs or there's no blood, we're in good shape. We can get through this." It's all about the focus. I think when you're in really tough times, you have to think about what your mission is. You have to think about why you are in business, and you have to think about if you don't continue, what is it that you're going to do, and how are you going to feel about that? And it gives you a different motivation when you start looking at it on that higher level, thinking about who it is that you're helping and why it is what you do is important.
Right.
And that will, at least for me, that's what helps me get through some of those days, and we all have them.
We do, absolutely, yes. And I know you got your very first clients many years ago through networking with other professionals. How do you go about getting new clients? Because that's the question I get asked all the time, by entrepreneurs. What do you do?
Right. And, I think a lot of that question relates specifically to the product or service that the company is providing. In our particular case, we have two different applications. We have some technology that we use in helping our clients. Right. And one is a virtual CFO service that we provide, and we charge per month what most outsourced CFOs charge per hour. So it's a very competitive rate, and it's a very sophisticated application that our people use to provide that. In that particular case, we're networking with other professionals we know. We are talking with current clients who may be on a different platform as their companies are growing and they have different requirements. We may move them to that platform. Right. But in that particular case, we are connecting with business owners, with other consulting or advisory companies, CPAs, attorneys, bankers, those kinds of people to find companies that need help. Our other application is literally an automated chief financial officer. It is designed for the small business owner who does not necessarily have a CFO, but they need some help managing their cash flow. Right. And it is designed to be easy, fast, and very, very powerful, because we've taken all of the functionality in our sophisticated CFO platform and automated that in this platform. And so with that application, we are doing a lot of social media marketing. We have a webinar that we make available to people to explain in a little bit more detail. It's about 30 minutes. So it goes through what exactly the software will give them and how they would interact with it. I mean, we can create in that application I know the software pretty well since I helped design it.
Right.
But to go from zero to creating a new user, setting up a new company, loading data from QuickBooks, and generating a 2-year P&L and weekly cash flow forecast in 8 minutes.
Wow. Incredible. Now, I'm so certain that there will be people listening that want to know, where can they find that particular service, Fred?
Yeah, if they want to go to theprofitbeacon.com, all one word, theprofitbeacon.com, they will be able to go to the webinar and watch that. They can get a 30-day free trial for the software. If they actually want to communicate with me directly, they can send me an email. My email address is fparrish, P-A-R-R-I-S-H, at profit-experts.com. And I'm more than happy to talk with anyone, help in any way we can. Our mission, Yukai, is to change the failure rate in small companies. That is our entire focus. We believe, and I have seen, that is just entirely too high. In my experience, more than half of the companies that have gone out of business over my almost 40 years, it was unnecessary. If they had seen what was coming and they had the tools that are available today, they would still be in business today. And so, when you think about the people's lives that are impacted when a company goes out of business, it is just incredible. And so we want to help as many people as we can. One thing that we are doing that I don't believe that anyone else does is not only do we provide the service and the software, but we also are developing a training platform that provides short video clips, anywhere from a few minutes to 30 minutes, an hour. We are creating a certification program for small business CFOs, where not only do we give people the tools, but we teach them how to use the tools, and then we teach them how to take that intelligence, rather than data, which comes out of the accounting system, take that intelligence and put it to work in their company to create something incredible.
Wow, it's incredible. Once again, if you're joining us, you can access this training and all the software that Fred is talking about by visiting www.theprofitbeacon.com. Fred, I would like to thank you for being here with us today. We certainly would love to have you again on another episode, maybe to explore another aspect of financial planning and really glean on the extensive knowledge you have amassed over these 40 years of helping business owners start up, right from startup to the big companies. So thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Yukai. Thanks for having me on.
And I'm sure business owners certainly appreciate that and have a much clearer understanding of this whole subject. We would like to wish you all the success in your next project, Fred.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Incredible. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be in touch with Fred, visit this website here. That's www.theprofitbeacon.com. Alternatively, send us an email. We'll put you in touch with Fred, or just click the link below. It will take you to Fred's website and some of his social media, or just send us an email at Supported World Outsourcing Solution. With that said, wish you all the success. Go implement all the strategies you've learned today, and your business will never be the same. Sometimes it's just a small thing that you need to adjust for you to get the maximum results. Again, thank you for joining us, and wish you a great day ahead. Goodbye, Fred.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for listening to UKAI Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.ukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.